righty, welcome back to the channel.
I'm Joe.
That's Joe. This is episode 3 of Seeking the Truth, Bigfoot. And this one's going to be a little different. Obviously, the first couple episodes we talked about incidents. Episode 2 was the Ape Canyon incident. The first episode we talked about the famous Patterson-Gimli film.
Right.
This one is potential hotspot in our own backyard. Obviously, the more that we've researched this, thanks to Joe for really digging this stuff up, Texas evidently is a pretty big hotspot, mainly East Texas, and I know you're going to chime in here in a minute. It's kind of like a triangulated position with Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and even Arkansas. It's pretty interesting. And I had no idea. We've gone on vacations to cabins up in Oklahoma, right. 2 years in a row now, and Hochatown, Broken Bow are potential hotspots. I had no idea how far south this went.
Yes. Texas, specifically, like you said, the East Texas area, you're looking at Marion County, Longview, Marshall, and especially Jefferson area, Lake of the Pines out near Caddo Lake, up into including Caddo Lake, which also runs in Louisiana. But Jefferson, a few years ago, was self-proclaimed by the mayor to be the Bigfoot capital of Texas. So that tells you something right there. And since 2001, the annual Bigfoot Conference of Texas has taken place in Jefferson, Texas. Going back decades, 100 years plus, there have been experiences, sightings, various incidences with locals in that area and tourists. And then if you were to do the research, do a deep dive in it, you find that Native Americans who inhabited lands further back than that, several hundred years, they had names for these creatures or entities. And again, most of this is situated in the East Texas area that borders Louisiana, and then further to the north, you're looking at Oklahoma and some pretty famous incidents in Arkansas, which we'll tackle later, up into include, Texarkana and whatnot. But yeah, it really is, and probably by virtue of because it's a more forested area, it's more hilly, it's more remote, essentially, is what it boils down to here.
Yeah, I was shocked when I found out Jefferson was a hot spot, because I have a personal friend. Him and his wife go at least once a year. They're known for their bed and breakfasts out there. It's a small town, slow pace, everything. He goes there all the time, and he never once mentioned like, hey, it's the Bigfoot capital of Texas,
Right.
I had no idea. And once he had kind of said that, I started to look into this, and there's sightings all over. It's hard to find certain stories. It's just sightings. But one I found, and it's not close to Jefferson, it's a little further north, but it is in Paris.
Right.
I read a story about evidently there are these teenagers that go to this lake in the summertime. They go swimming, and this girl, she lived about 1.5 miles from the lake, so she would just walk through this trail every day, no problem. They were swimming all afternoon. It started to get evening, and she started to walk home, no big deal. And she said she got about 1/4 mile to her house, and all of a sudden she started hearing like trees moving, and then she started hearing kind of like a grunting. And at first she didn't turn around. Well, the grunting started to get a little louder. She turned around, and probably about, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 8 feet away from her, was like a 6 to 8 foot creature full of hair. And she claims that it looked like it was going to start to walk towards her, but she screamed, threw her arms up, ran, and she said as she turned around and ran, the creature ran back into the forest.
Right.
So that, again, Paris is not that far from here. Like I said, we stopped in Paris on the way up to Broken Bow. It's only about 1.5 hours from here. And to find out that it's in our backyard, and just the other day, a good friend of mine was telling me a story about somebody he knows that they believe that they're being stalked by Bigfoot. Not necessarily being terrorized, but they're being stalked. They're talking about some of their livestock has become missing, and they'll find it later, like hanging in the tree. Some of it's half eaten, some of it's not.
Yeah.
And
what could you possibly attribute that to? Unless
there's some weird guy hanging out in the woods.
I mean,
But yeah, and I either it's her, and I'm not very sure because it told me, uh, he just told me this and kind of told me in a hurry. But it was either the husband or the son come back from college, and evidently has seen the creature and had a gun. And the woman that told my friend this story, she said, "Well, did you shoot it?" And he said, "I'm not going to shoot it because if I shoot it, it's going to start terrorizing us, start hurting us." So, and this is in Texas. I don't have that location, and I wouldn't give that away without consent of that party. But
absolutely.
like I said, this thing is right in our backyard. You know, I really thought when we started this, I mean, the obvious case was the Looking Broken Bow if we go on vacation again, or go to the Appalachian Mountains or the Smoky Mountains there in
Smoke
Tennessee,
yeah.
or go up to the Pacific Northwest. I really didn't know we had to drive about an hour away to get into a hot spot.
Yeah, and you know the thing is, when I was talking about in general about Bigfoot and Sasquatch, when I was a teenager, of course, I was into the paranormal and I was into Bigfoot and all that. And I never really did deep dives when I was younger and all this stuff. And it's only been lately, you know, actually in the last couple of years since I've been down here, you know, in Texas and all that, that I've discovered the same info that we're talking about right now. That yeah, it's in our own backyard, and you know, you do more research on it. It's like I think we mentioned in another video that the behavior of these creatures tends to vary depending on region of the U.S. And apparently, you know, what we talked about before in this area, the southern region, especially, they tend to be, by and large, their disposition might be a little bit more aggressive, from what I understand. Now, what you're talking about, the girl who screamed, now they're still going to be, you know, apprehensive, I guess, and probably more apt to run, you know, from us than not. But from what I understand, they, you know, some of the incidences I've sort of read about or looked at, they're not as shy as their neighbors up in the Pacific Northwest, as their cousins.
See, and I thought that was the opposite because I thought that down south they were really nice,
Yeah.
and the further north you get, the more aggressive they get.
Now and also the appearances, like we talked about before, are very different too.
Yeah.
The appearances, like specifically with this, what we're talking about here in the Texas area, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, their arms, the length of the arms tends to almost drape down over their knees. Their fingertips go past, so they've got very long arms.
Yeah.
The height is relatively the same. You know, you're looking at creatures. Some people claim we've seen juveniles maybe 6 taller than us, you know, obviously, but still even beyond that, 7 to 8 feet tall. And the hair tends to be a little bit more scraggly, not as maybe matted as the ones up in the Northwest.
I haven't seen one,
Well
so
groomed.
I can't tell you what they look like.
But that's just some of the stuff I've read. But yeah, their demeanor tends to be a little bit more aggressive down here. And of course, from what unless you got something to contradict me, right, there's never been a case where someone has been like killed. Okay, well, let's just be
Oh, good Jesus, I hope not.
we would have seen or heard about that, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, animal maulings, you don't hear about that in the Northwest. You know, pigs, livestock go up missing.
You know, it's funny because, again, I was kind of on the fence of this 50-50 thing every time we go up to Oklahoma. Like, is it true? Because, again, I read that article where it said Bigfoot has been putting parents' kids through college for the last 50 years or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it a hoax? Is it just to sell souvenirs or something? You know, but if it's gone further down here, man, again, there's something going on. I can't be a full believer in this because I've never seen it or had an experience. Now, if I'm outside the cabin, you know, in Oklahoma and I start hearing whoops, I might change my tune a little bit.
Well, the question, and it's always present. You're always going to find those questions. Well, why haven't we seen the body of a dead, you know, Bigfoot or Sasquatch, a dead specimen? Why haven't we found this? Why haven't we found animals with claw marks in them or something like that. And so they're going to use that to debunk all this. And they're going to obviously, why haven't we, captured one by now? I can't answer those questions. Again, when we started the series, it was basically just to, seek the truth, ultimately.
Because there are sometimes you come across an animal carcass, you don't know how that animal died. I mean, how do you know for certain it died? And they always say we never found a skeleton or remains. Dogs, there are dog species that when they know they're going to die, they want to go off on their own.
Yeah.
I'd have to go ask my grandma this, but she had a little dog who was named Peanut. It was a 3-legged dog. Just disappeared. Never came back. It's 13 years old. I think it just went off and knew it was going to die. So it found somewhere nice, laid down, and that's it. And you're telling me this high intelligent species probably doesn't know it's going to, die. It's not going to come close to population of a human and die. And we find its remains. They've, so, and again, we can't answer that though.
Yeah.
Maybe they have found one and they just haven't told us.
Yeah. And that's definitely within the realm of reason. Like you said, man, they might be a species with high enough intelligence, if it is an animal species, that has some kind of burial ceremony.
Boy, that would be scary to walk up on that. Talking in some kind of language.
But the fact remains that here in Texas, where most people think about, flat land and tumbleweeds in the west and all that, you go to the east, and where it's more, populated by trees, like I said, more hilly area. You have those remote areas where something, or obviously a group of things, could almost indefinitely elude civilization.
Yeah, you're right.
More and more, though, I think, as it's been said, as we encroach upon the land, just like any other animal or creature, you're going to see more of them because we're pushing further into their territory.
Well, yeah, and maybe we'll do an episode on this one time, but even Survivor Man had said that you think that a creature like this could disappear. He's like, I could disappear.
Right.
And you couldn't find me.
Right. That's the thing.
There are a lot of vast open areas in this just on this U.S. continent.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting you bring up what Jefferson is the Bigfoot capital.
Yes.
Should we go ahead and announce?
Yeah, love to.
We are planning an expedition to Jefferson, Texas. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks. It's planned out. Will it get executed or not? Only time will tell. But we are hoping that episode 4, we will be on location in Jefferson, looking for the trail of Bigfoot.
Yes.
Seeing if we can find something, a tree structure or something.
Right.
Now, are we going to be like Les Stroud and Survivor Man? We're going to go 20 miles deep into the jungle and spend the night? Probably not. But, we're going to scratch the surface. We're going to get out there, see what we can find. Obviously, we're going to bring you guys with us and see what we find.
Yeah, I am extremely excited about this.
I know you are.
And too, I also want to just emphasize that, again, we're just two guys going out there. Well, potentially, hopefully, we're going to get a bit of a group together, if possible, to go out there. And
I want a whole army with me.
Right. But, again, I've never, as much of an enthusiast as I am, I've been to comic conventions before, so I've never been to a Bigfoot conference. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that Jefferson was the Bigfoot capital of Texas. I didn't know they had annual Bigfoot conferences here for the last 20 years. So, again, we're just like our JFK series. We're moving through this. We're learning together. Any input, obviously, anyone has, our viewer base or fans, and we're going to keep researching. I'm going to keep researching the subject, specifically now, the East Texas area. We're going to look, and I'm going to try to do some research on possibly the Native American legends from that, going back over 2 centuries, 3 centuries.
But this is a big step for us. We're going to obviously, we're still kind of new with this, starting this channel and starting this series. We feel like this is the next step. We're going to tip our toes. We're obviously not going to get plane tickets and go up to the Pacific Northwest and, quit our jobs for 6 months and try to find something. That's just, it's not feasible.
No.
But, we figured this is a great first start, and who knows what we find out there. We'll see, We only knows, Lord only knows what will happen when we get out there.
We really appreciate you guys sharing these, hopefully forthcoming adventures with us, and also like having the patience with us to understand that we're all learning together on this, and we're seeking the truth together on this.
Yes, and that's mainly why we named the series this, and that's where we're going to go out there. We're going to see if we find any truth to this. It could be a bust.
Yeah.
But who knows?
We're going to have fun with it, though.
We're going to have fun. And that's what this channel is about, having fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, let us know what you think. If you've been out there and you know of any spots for us to look at, let us know.
Yes, please.
We, again, same thing with JFK. We cannot do this on our own. So if you need, if you have any information out there, let us know. And as always, search for the truth.
Bye.